All right, everybody, welcome to the special council meeting Friday, April 1st, 2022. I make a motion, we adjourn. Do I have a second? April Fools, okay, got that done. Sorry, it just jumped on my shoulder right as I was saying that.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I was going to say April Fools, I'm not going to resign, but okay.
Yeah, okay. Beat you to it. Okay, first thing is we got to, I just got to question you this, Shar. When did you call me, yesterday or the day before, about adding this?
The day he came in and asked?
No, I know, but I mean, are we able to do that without a 3-day posting?
Well,
I'm questioning it because oftentimes, sometimes we can't add things in this end.
I don't remember what day it was.
I'm all for doing this, there's no question about
I
it.
actually don't remember what day it was.
That's why we're meeting today, because we couldn't talk about this. It wasn't.
You know, and why John waited till the day before the event to come in and ask for it is crazy.
Doesn't he have to go through the state too? No?
Yeah.
Well, then there's no way you can get it tomorrow anyway.
Well, I don't want to block him, but I just wanted to question the process.
Great. Did I call you?
I think so. Either that or maybe I was in here. Maybe, and you asked me when I was in here, something.
I know I called you on Tuesday.
No. Well, nonetheless, it seems kind of short notice, but what is the event they're holding? Hockey is?
He said he thought the bingo was being held at Manhattan Beach, but he found out whatever day it was that it's going to be at the Whitefish Lodge.
Oh, so they
So it's
came
going to be in
into
the
the city.
limits. And he said he can email it to the state. I don't know.
All right, well, I don't have an objection to doing it. It's just kind of the process, but anybody have any comments on it?
No.
Well, then are we going to start letting everything slide? Because we could have let this meeting slide and done it on Monday versus showing up here again on Friday.
Well, I guess we can make that decision when a meeting comes up, whether we do or not.
So, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, stuff comes up. I get it. I just. So does somebody want to make a motion? Mr. Schrupp isn't here today, huh?
Mr. Schrupp is in transit coming back.
He is, okay.
I guess we are discussing it, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make a motion, we approve it.
I second it.
Okay, any more discussion? Go ahead. Or no, you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I zoom in.
Siebert Bowles?
Yes,
Nevin?
Yep.
Herzog?
Yes.
actually, can I change that to abstaining? Because I don't think we should be considering it anyway. I'm going to change it to abstain.
I think it should be a yes or a no, shouldn't it? Andrews?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries.
And Dave?
Yeah.
I told him to come in after the meeting. And I don't know how long we're going to be here, so if he'll sign that, I'll give it to Cheryl and he can pick it up. Thanks.
Okay, next review. Public Works Director job position description. Aaron, I know that you commented on a couple.
Well, it was something that had been done when TJ was hired, that they did this, and I thought, well, we should at least discuss it. I don't really care if it does or not. It's on the last page.
Didn't you refer to bullet points or something?
Yeah, on the very last page under minimum qualifications, all the way, yeah, there you go. And it was just, and I don't really, I don't have strong feelings either way.
Medical certificate? Is that?
No, actually, this was,
I never read that one, the DOT one. Somebody else must have added that.
I added those because those two items are on the job descriptions for the heavy equipment sewer operators. And I thought maybe you wanted to consider having the same requirements for their supervisor.
Well, there are minimum qualifications on theirs.
Yeah.
So that's where I would like to have a little discussion on some of this stuff.
Here's what I was working off of that last one. But I don't know if it's on a different place on this new one or not, because I don't see it.
It was new and didn't have it, and so we,
Right, that, and I just thought, did you want it, which way did you want it? It was just a discussion item, nothing more.
So, but if we put them under minimum qualifications, shouldn't there be on the training experience rating form, those minimum qualifications? If they don't have that, they're out.
Yep,
So
I agree.
that's not what this training thing shows. It just shows points for each one, I think. If I'm looking at this right, there is no minimum qualifications on the training experience rating form.
okay, can I back up a little bit, because I did want to do something. I would like the chair of the Public Works Commission to be a part of this process. So could we make a motion, or do you guys agree with allowing Tom to come up here and sit in this discussion? Or I guess I'll make a motion that he be allowed to be part of this process. Do I have a second?
To come up here and sit?
Yeah, just, I
And
mean, just
vote?
so he's not bouncing back and forth. He's got some opinions and some input, and are blindsided you?
I don't care. Go ahead. Yes, I'll second.
Okay, just do that chart, if you would, and see if it flies. It'll just save Tom from coming back up and back and forth, and we'll get into a dialogue.
Nevin,
Yes?
Herzog,
Yep.
Andrews,
Yes.
Ziebert Bowles.
Yes.
Come on up, Tom.
I have one question. The job description,
You gotta mic it.
Are you guys looking at a different job description than what Shar gave me after that last meeting?
Yes.
She just gave us a new one.
Yeah.
Here, you can take this one. There's some changes on the back.
Oh,
Then you want this on to comment?
Okay, my point being that your minimum qualifications on your job description, we're saying they have to have that. So generally on a training experience rating form, you would start out with those minimum qualifications. If they don't have that, they're not considered.
Can I make a statement on, I told you all that there was no T&E for Ted. I went back to when he was hired. They did not do a T&E.
Char, I'm gonna expound on my ignorance here. What is T&E?
The training and experience form, but
So, and I told you I was going to have to create one. And then Aaron mentioned TJ, so then I said, oh, I'll look at what we did for TJ. And on TJ's, this is basically what we did for TJ, and we did not use a minimum qualifications on his.
okay, I just want to make it clear that generally, if you say these are the minimum
So if
qualifications
you
that
want to
we'll
change
accept.
it, we can, but I used TJ's, and obviously we worked out good with TJ. And we did not have minimum qualifications, so we didn't get to a point where we said you're good. So this, in this way, you would look at everybody equally. I mean, and not root out anybody.
I understand that, I'm just saying that if we
And
want,
then-
if we want to adhere to the minimum qualifications, and we're
And-
not going to slide on any of them, this is fine,
And then
or
with
this
what
isn't
Aaron
fine.
said, supervisory, you could rate it. If there was none, you could give them 0 points.
Yeah.
And if they had some, you could give them 10 points. So it's I mean, this is just all for your review anyway.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, I got a
and-
couple statements to make too on my thoughts of it is, we're looking for the Public Works Director position. Now, we've got 3 sewer guys here, probably soon to be 3 Class B licenses, depending on how that goes. So the qualifications, do we need that qualification? And the Class A license, do we need that qualification for the Public Works Director position?
The Class A isn't on there.
It
Oh,
is minimum.
that's a driver's license.
Well, it's the same thing, right?
No.
No,
No,
Well, not class, well,
Class
Class A
B
driver's
is what we
license.
need. Class
Class
B
A is for hauling
wastewater.
flammables, right?
no, Class A is if the truck and trailer.
Oh, okay.
A single axle or a tandem axle truck is a Class B.
So if you
When
got
you put
the-
the trailer on behind it, it becomes a Class A.
Oh, okay. Okay. And that's, you want to have that. Most people have.
Well, yeah, most people want it, but it's the ability to haul equipment on the trailer.
Yeah.
And it's in their job descriptions, the heavy equipment operator, sewer operator. These three people in the audience have that.
So my point of it is what qualifications do we want to expound on and which ones? To me, the administrator portion of it is important. Supervisory, administering, getting in the community, developing stuff, following stuff through, doing that part of it. And being one of, and don't take this disrespectfully, you guys, but being one of the worker bees is not, it's a good qualification to have, but it's not as important. You know, we've got a staff to do that, so.
What if nobody comes to work?
Well, yeah.
They have to be able to do it.
Okay.
If they don't come to work, they ain't gonna have a job, that's it.
If we make it a requirement, we may eliminate somebody good by not having it.
So you want to just go
I'm
open,
kind of-
open end, and not worry about minimum qualifications and just rate everybody based on this rating form, and is there anything you want to change?
I kind of would like to, yeah, not rule anybody out.
Okay, that's just something we have to make clear, if
Yeah.
we're gonna adhere to the minimum qualifications, or if we're gonna just open it up and just look at what applications we get and the points we give them.
And maybe we could rate it that it does, you get points if you have it.
Well, you do.
It's a good thing
I
to
mean-
have it, but maybe not eliminate somebody by not having one of them.
But I think she does have that in here. All I was doing is trying to address the fact that, do you want to make sure they have those minimum qualifications? Then you don't have to go through the whole process of rating, because you find out right away they don't have a Class B or they don't have supervisor experience, and you're out.
This is right here, minimum
Yes,
qualifications.
yes. So this is fine, it's fine. I just want to make sure that everybody understands.
The only one that I would question so far is having the Class B wastewater. We have one. So does that
Well-
have to be a minimum qualification?
Oh, in here?
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to change it, but if you're not going to go by minimum qualification, what difference does it make? If you're going to have Class B over here anyway rating,
On the T&E, it says ability to obtain the Class B within 2 years.
and that would be possible if somebody came in with a Class C and well, wait, you have that, no, if you have Class C, you only need 1 more year. I was thinking it was 6
Well-
years, but that's for
One more or 3 more or whatever, huh?
it's one.
One more.
1 year, we have to have 6 years of experience or.
But
So
if-
you guys are
but-
applying for your Class C now, and next year you will try to get your Class B.
Yeah, but once you have your Class C, it would only take you a year
Yeah.
to work. Then you can go for your Class B.
So, you know, my point is that in a year, we're gonna have potentially three
No.
Class B operators.
No, not unless they pass their test right now.
Well, they're gonna go for it right now.
Taking it the earliest available, take it.
Yeah.
So a year plus.
So it could
but I
be
mean,
this fall, for all we know. And then they have to work a year after they get their Class C certification. Then it's another year before they can go for their B.
One other thing I would like to mention here is, again, I got a call yesterday, and I got in trouble about the company out of Omaha, whatever the name of it is. But yesterday, I just got a call that there's 2 guys that are forming a company in Pillager that do wastewater and water plants for cities. And they don't come in and run them, but there's somebody that you could troubleshoot, you know, and I haven't talked to them, I don't know anything about them. But it might be another resource just to I think they work for $50 an hour, which is awful cheap. And they don't work, but they come over and they say, well, here's what you can do or something, you know, just some
Consultants.
consulting, yeah.
So
I haven't talked to them.
Could I interrupt for a second?
Sure.
Yeah, let's get back on track here. What we're trying to do is to come up with a job description that's of an adequate nature to attract a qualified person to fill that position. And all the things you're talking about does someone meet a minimum requirement or not? I think your process needs to be flexible enough so that when you do interview people that do apply for it, that you, to Dave's comment, that you don't exclude potentially qualified individuals. To Marcia's comment, it needs to be detailed enough so that you don't hire an unqualified person based on your requirements. But I think you need to look at individuals that do apply or potentially would apply, and do they have the right combination of skills to fill this position, or could they get there? So again, I think we need to stay on track with the purpose of the meeting, which right now we're reviewing the job description, and we'd like to get an experience rating so that when the people apply for it, we can ferret out those that we feel are qualified versus those that are not. You can still make that decision. If someone doesn't have their Class B license, but they have the Class A, and you feel confident that they've got the C and they're going to get their Class B or they're working towards it, that's a whole different discussion, and it puts them in a different place. But you have to use some common sense when you look at these so that you're picking or establishing the correct person. But to Mr. Nevin's point, if you come right out of the chute and say there's a new company, should we do something different? That's not the purpose of this discussion today.
Okay, but I think we were on track as far as deciding whether we want the minimum qualifications to apply, and we're not going to consider an applicant that does not have that minimum qualifications. And I think we've decided, probably by general consensus, but if you need a motion, that's fine, that we're going to open it up and not the combination. We're going to open it up and just, you know, use her rating form, and nobody's getting thrown out. Because I think for the planning and zoning position, when you rated them, you threw some out because they didn't meet some of the minimum qualifications. So that's where I'm at. That's why I am asking that question. I want everybody to understand that this is the process, and we have to establish, are we just opening it up and looking at rating them for everything, and the combination of their experience and management and operations and that kind of thing. We're just going to open it up, and if they might not have a Class B, but they have supervisory experience, they might have supervisory experience and not a Class B, that's all fine. We're not throwing any applicant out. We're going to rate them. That's where I think we're on track, and that's basically, that's why I brought it up, the minimum qualifications, and if we're going to look at somebody that doesn't have those, but it sounds to me, I guess I'll ask you to ask the rest of the council whether, if that's how they all feel for sure, that you're just going to open it up and rate based on this rating form. And if there's any additional ratings that you want to do, I didn't really look, yes, and I didn't really look at it because we just got it, but I'm thinking if we all want to take time to look at all of them or go over it, and then I guess we can move on fairly quickly.
Can I ask a question or?
Sure, absolutely.
Under the minimum qualifications, and this goes to the advertising, whatever you put in here now is what's going to be in the advertisement under minimum qualifications. When you send it to the league, they have things where you've got to give some sort of description. And I guess the part, I don't have any problem with what Shar added here, but the one thing I have a little problem with is where it says at least 1 year. that's supervisory experience. And the reason I'm saying that is because if you send it to the League of Cities and put it on their website and list these minimum qualifications, people may look at that and say, you know, I'm a Class B operator, I got the driver's license, all that, but I'm a worker bee right now. They want a year of experience, so why even bother applying?
Exactly.
So I think, you know, if you worded that more like, you know, put a period after street maintenance, and then whether you put it somewhere else or you could do a sentence, something like 1 year supervisory experience preferred but not required.
Can't we do that with all of it? Prefer Class B, prefer
Well, some
supervisory?
of these, I think you want to, at least my thought is, you want to require them to have these other ones, not prefer that they have a Class B or a Class A. It's just that supervisory, you could have a worker bee that could qualify for it, except he's a worker bee and he's never been a supervisor. And so if you just change that to preferred but not required, then somebody from Buffalo, Minnesota that looks at it online would say, okay, I've got everything else. No, I don't have the supervisory, but you know, they'll still look at my application.
So we've come clear circle. We're coming around and coming back and saying they have to have these.
What would happen if you changed the word minimum to desired qualifications and you ferret that out through the interview process?
That's a good idea,
Because
Mike.
then you've allowed yourself the flexibility to make that decision. If you have two candidates that are equal and one has that qualification and the other doesn't, check. You know, when you're in a regulatory environment, it's really important that you set minimum requirements for that license that you're operating under. But if you set desired qualifications, then you can ferret that information out during the interview process and when you're actually talking to people saying, okay, you know, we'd really like you to have this quality. What do you think about that? Mm-hmm. Are you willing to work towards it or not? Or and they might say, well, I've taken the test 8 times and I can't pass it. No, I'm never going to do that. Versus the candidate that says, you know, I passed it last week, but I don't have the time requirement. That's an entirely different answer when you're looking at what is that person's qualification.
Yeah, I'm all for changing it to desired qualifications. I don't have a problem with that. I'll make a motion. We change it from minimum qualifications to desired qualifications on the job description.
I'll second that, just to expedite this.
We're talking about the verbiage that Tom gave right now, right?
No, just changing the minimum qualifications.
So it's not mandatory.
The heading of that would change from minimum to desired qualification.
Okay, gotcha.
I think that'll take care of it all.
And the
Good
same
idea,
page
Mike.
with you guys.
Yeah, it just opens it up a little bit.
Okay.
So Chip, I'm sorry, is it too late?
No, that's exactly what I was gonna say. You have your minimum requirements and then your preferred.
Okay, perfect,
That's what I was gonna say, and then Tom touched on it right after I raised my hand.
perfect. Okay, so we got a motion and a second.
Ready to vote?
Yep.
Kurzak?
Yes.
Andrews?
Yes, I can't hear you very well, Shar.
My mic isn't on. Andrews?
Yes.
Siebert Rolls?
Yes.
Nevin?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And the point of me bringing up that other company, Mike, is just we can lean a little bit more on consulting than having to have all those qualifications here. I don't want to get into it deeply now, but we may need to do that.
What that consulting company is if you have problems at your plant, these guys are experts in their field and they come in and help you correct the situation.
Troubleshoot it or something?
But they're not day-to-day operations.
Absolutely.
The
No, I
person
know.
whose day-to-day operation is these guys.
Absolutely, but these would just be consultants. you
They're
know?
consultants if you have problems, and we
So, but
don't
we can-
have those issues, so.
We can talk about that at another day.
That's why you have an engineer.
Yeah.
Speaking of engineer, on our TE, I don't see anything in there about experience working with an engineer on projects, a project engineer. I don't see that on here. Ted, is that something we should consider?
I agree with you, Aaron. I think we should. That they should.
Some kind of knowledge and experience with, looking at blueprints and plans and working with engineers.
Okay, did you get that, Char? Working with, okay.
Could that be added with
something that,
project coordination with other departments, engineer entities? Add-
but just so we can get some kind of consideration in it,
Okay.
because I look at what Ted does, what we receive through Ted is we get a great deal of
And
work.
we have time to tweak this because we don't even have a publication out yet.
But if I don't speak it now,
I guess that's why I thought we should have it in front of us, so we could just get it cleared.
So our goal here is to kind of take some of the restrictions out of it, leave it a little more open.
It gives you flexibility in which direction you go.
Now, is there room, can we do it, or is it discriminating or something to say that we would like the individual to live in the community?
No, you can't do that. You can do response time.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you can't.
And
There's a
response
That
residence.
should really
in
be
there
part of
already.
the job description, so that they know you've got to live, I don't know what fire department and police is, if it's 15 minutes to the,
What is your
city
response
limits,
time,
or-
Chuck? 10 minutes?
And that's if you're on call, or is it 10 minutes regardless? 10 minutes. Yeah, well, that's good.
that narrows them down pretty tight to inside the city, or really close.
I'm not sure.
I would go a little bit, for this position, I would go minutes, but 15 minutes or something like that, 20, 30?
Yeah, I think what we
Okay.
did in the past was, it was like 15 minutes driving the speed limit to the city limits. So that, if you lived in Breezy, as long as you hit the city limits down by Cedar Chest within 15 minutes, you meet the qualifications.
Yeah.
And I think some of the police officers, live in Breezy, and that's how it was worked out.
What, Ted, you had?
No, what Tom just mentioned is how I was hired, how my guys were hired is that same term, so.
Then let's keep it consistent.
But I think that should be in the job description itself,
Yes.
so people know up front that.
15.
Should that be under preferred or minimum or something?
Do you want to use the same standard as
Police, fire?
Desire.
police and fire? Because, that seems a little restrictive.
I would say the backup support to distance would be one of you guys are on call, right? So the on-call guys have to be within so far, would be probably more important than
Yeah. It's 30
Yeah.
minutes.
for the supervisor, you mean, or the administrator?
Would 30 minutes not create a problem, Ted, versus 15?
Yeah. I
Fire, you mean?
Response time for police and fire.
think we should stick with 15.
Okay?
Seth, I'm sorry.
I'm
If
fine
you
with
go
that.
30 minutes, you're talking people
As
in
far as the
Breeden,
public works
Baxter,
on-call worker, your response time?
North of there, but.
But you still got on-call people that are
Yeah.
there.
I know, but what if you?
Because Ted, what was the response time of people service? 24 hours? So,
I think we should stick with 15 minutes to the city limits.
Well, and, again, that could fall under the desired, if somebody comes in and they're
No, if we're
20
going to put it in the job description, we need to,
All right, whatever.
The job that I just took, theirs was 15 minutes, and I'm actually 17 minutes from that was up to flexibility of the city, so.
yeah.
No, I'm good, Marcia, I'm good with the 15.
So I'll make a motion that we we include in the job description for Public Works Director that a response time of 15 minutes is required
Second.
To the city limits.
to the city limits.
The same as
required or
what they've done.
desired?
Yeah.
I think we should have it required because of the fact that then pretty soon we're doing I want 30 minutes and 20 minutes, and just if somebody's going to move for this position or whatever, they know Cross Lake is their town.
Well, if you want to give them 6 months to achieve that, don't make it that they have to that day, I guess, if that makes, no?
No, I would just say, I don't like the open-ended part of it. Either if you're going to put it in there and you want a response time, then just do it. If you don't want a response time, then don't put it in there.
I want a response.
But don't crab when they're not here in a half hour or whatever.
I assume you did on-call as well, Ted, or did you not?
Well, you gotta remember, I was on for all the time. I mean, I carried the keys for all of the public buildings, so whenever there was an alarm, I'm the one that got called.
Okay.
So,
Oh, okay.
15 minutes wasn't a problem, was it?
no.
No.
Not for, but I
Yeah.
lived in town, in 2 different places, and I didn't have any problem with that.
And that wasn't in your job description.
No, that was just known when Tom hired me, that's what I was told, so.
Well, it's in the job description if it passes.
Okay, put it in.
Well, I think she's got to call and vote because it was a motion.
Was there a second?
Aaron did.
You ready to vote?
Yep.
Andrews?
Yes.
Zebra Bowles?
Yes.
Nevin?
Yes.
Herzog?
Yes.
So are we reviewing the training and experience form at the same time here? Are we kind of doing them both?
I think maybe you should take that with and make any changes and maybe bring it to the regular council meeting? Since you guys are just looking at it for the first time?
Okay, and we can go ahead and advertise without having that completed? Yeah, okay.
You've got time.
We just have to have it done before we start our deadline for applications.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else on that? So we skip the training and experience and move to the salary range? Or do we want to talk about training and experience some more?
I think you've got it worked out.
Okay, well, the salary range, I'll tell you what I did in preparation for this, is I came in yesterday and asked Shar what Ted's higher range, what he got when he were hired? In 2000? 2000?
Yeah.
And he was 44,000, so I did today's dollars to that, and it's equivalent to 74.8 in today's dollars, what you were hired at in 2000. I don't know what the range of that is, Mike. Where's the range of that position?
What did you use for an inflation factor?
A 1.7 multiplier.
Well, I looked at it a little different. Every year, I look at salary data that's reported to the league, and I use a real wide range, and I try to find a job description that matches most of the duties that our person does. And when those job descriptions are created at the league, they don't capture every duty an individual does, but most of the duties you would expect that individual to perform. So, for example, a public works director in Cross Lake might not do the exact same thing every day that a public works director does in Nisswa or Pequot or Bemidji or Little Falls. And so what I do is I try to get enough data to develop a range that makes sense, so I can come up with a midpoint to say, are we within an acceptable or not an acceptable range? So I use communities that are smaller than ours, I use communities that are larger, and I exclude a lot of communities that just wouldn't make sense. Like you wouldn't take a metro ring suburb and throw in there because you'd have a disparity. So you try to look at what would a favorable range be. And when I did that, on my survey data, I came up with a range from 75,079 to 96,070. The current wage for that position, or a midpoint, was 85,314. The actual wage we're paying right now is 85,826. So I was really close to the midpoint for the range I developed. And when I talk about a midpoint, what I'm looking for is what would we expect a person to pay a person with the skill set somewhere in the middle. You wouldn't want someone right at the bottom of the range and expect to pay them the midpoint, and you wouldn't want someone at the top of the range and expect to pay them the midpoint, because they probably wouldn't come to work for you. In one case, you'd be underpaying someone, in one case, you'd be overpaying someone based on the market. The other way I looked at it was I looked at what would be a favorable position using Dave's method. Only I used more what I think are more realistic numbers, inflation adjusted. And I came somewhere between a range of, if I roll forward $44,000, I come somewhere between $75,000 and $84,000. So I come between the bottom of the range and close to a midpoint. If I look at the data the city commissioned back in 2017 that we didn't accept, we went through a very lengthy process, job evaluation system, and what they came up with at that time was a salary range based on that individual's job description and current level of duties. If I apply the same logic to that method as we did during salary negotiations, if I look at a 3% adjustment between steps and a 3% adjustment in the complete chart between years, and then I look at a 3% adjustment between years and a 2.5% adjustment, like we did for the union contracts, I come up with very similar data. Now, when I did my own survey, I came between 75,079 and 96,070. When I used 3 years between steps, 3% between years, I came up to 76,848 to 97,349. And I came up, if I used 3 and 2.5, I came between 75,001 and 95,009. The point is, the salary range I'm coming up with that I'm willing to recommend is between 75 and 95 to attract a qualified person. Now, when I look at surrounding communities, if I place their wage for a similar position on our chart, they'd be at the midpoint. So my recommendation would be a range of 75 to 95.
And that's how you put it in the paper? Here is the range?
You'd put the range in, yes. We'd have to negotiate that with MNP.
So back to my point, 22 years ago when you were hired, Ted, you came in, we were building a sewer plant, you were a sewer operator. You were bringing some stuff to the table. And we started you out at 44. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Mike, arguably, my comparison and your comparison are pretty close, you know, as far as the starting wage. The range we can put broad if we want. I don't think we're going to know what we get for certainly a year after the hire is completed, as far as what we have. I guess it would let the candidate know that the range goes up to 95. But I think
You'd put that in the ad.
74 or 75 to 95.
You put the range in the ad, then they can figure out
Yeah, where
if they have any
think they can
experience.
fit in.
But on the league survey for Public Works Director, for populations our size, the average is 57.8. So, and if you look at Springstead's compensation study, I'm thinking that we should start at 60,000 for a range, below point, 60,000.
That was below the range from 2017, just so you know that. And I know
Well,
we
the-
disagree on how we interpret the league's data, so we need to understand that too.
Well, I'm just saying that that's the average. I'll tell you that on the salary survey, that Cross Lake is paid considerably higher than any other public works director.
So Ted,
That's
your
not true.
salary, just so I understand the way you're set up, you're not hourly. If you get called out in the middle of the night for something, do you get additional pay for that? So your salary covers, it's a blanket coverage.
Whatever you require, whatever is
Yeah.
duties assigned to me, that's my wage.
Now, on the other hand, the guys are hourly. If they get called out, they get compensated for it. So,
Well, I guess I'm just looking at the survey and this compensation study. If you went to step 6, that would be 2022. I don't know what's all included in that, but I would like to see the range start at 60,000 and go up to 85. Because according to this, we're paying a lot more than what other communities pay. And I'm not saying that that's right or wrong. I'm just putting a fact out there that the average is 57.5. That's the average in population. And I know there's factors in every community. Somebody does this and somebody does that. And but as a whole, when they put their person in the survey, public works director or superintendent, they generally, there's not a whole lot except for the fact that if you don't have as many utilities as this community, if this community has gas, electric, water, sewer, all that, and this other community has, and streets, and the other community has streets and wastewater, there is a difference.
I would also like to remind the council that the methodology I used for this, we've been using this since 2012, 2013. And the way that we did it is we surveyed the latest data available from the league. And I took every community over 2,000 population, and I took every community under 15,000, and I eliminated all the county data, all the large service districts, and all the metro districts, and then I pulled out the items that I considered to be anomalies. And the reason I used a larger population base is because of the transient nature of our community. We can't take every community that's 2,500 in population and say we're identical, because we're not. One thing we need to understand too is Cross Lake makes up about 13% of the taxable market value of the county. We're at 1.5 billion. That's larger than Brainerd, that's larger than Baxter. We have, as you saw a week or so ago, look at all the people in town. Not every community has that. Our population doubles, quadruples, fivefold sometimes on the weekends. And what we did was we tried to estimate the transient nature of our population based on the services we're trying to provide. Now, if you want to look at what is the statewide average, under those parameters, the average salary was $93,000. It wasn't $55,000 because you didn't include everything. So I've been using the council-directed, approved methodology consistently for a number of years. And again, my data revealed that when I looked at the survey data, a range of 75 to 96 yielded a midpoint of 85, which was right where we were at with what we were paying current staff, plus or minus. So that means you're paying the market for that.
So Mike, is it fair or is it out of line for me to compare what we're doing today to what we just did with Peter's hire at planning and zoning? Can we bring him into this, or?
We did the same thing.
Yeah.
We used the same methodology.
Did a range
We did a
around what it
range.
was. We
And
started.
then we looked for an individual that we felt was acceptable. You know, the idea is to attract a qualified person, And the range of the salary does that. Now, if you want to do something other than what I recommended, you could either make a motion and vote on my recommendation, or you could make your own and direct staff to do something different.
So what did we start Peter at? Is that a fair, again, question?
Peter has different responsibilities. We started
I
him at
realize
70.
that.
Yeah.
But
His range was, so was it 67.5 to, I don't
It
remember.
was 64 to 84, I
Yeah.
believe.
what he started at?
Yep.
Yeah,
But no, he doesn't have to have
No,
he's got different duties there. so
he's
don't
just
compare those.
asking what the
Yep.
range was.
Yep.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
But the
Just
process,
for comparison, what is step 10 of the sewer equipment operator? I just want to get a feel for, okay, when they're on step 10, 2,080 hours plus some overtime, what is the staff
Oh, I don't have
being
that.
paid compared to, because, you know, Ted's on call 24/7, they get overtime, and so you want to make sure that this
Yeah.
position, but I'm just curious what the top,
$30.78, the new
so
contract.
that's 60, about 65, I mean, they could be close to 70,000 with overtime.
Marcia, did that include the wastewater license part?
No, then you're gonna add another $4
Another $4
for,
grand onto that easily.
That's very
Yeah.
temporary.
$35 an hour for wastewater. Heavy-
In order to
Heavy
make-
equipment sewer operator. There's a premium pay of
What
$4.
the city,
Is that just temporary?
No,
what the
No.
council did was they placed a value, they placed a negotiated value on what license you had. So if you had a Class C license, you received additional compensation for achieving that license.
Okay, so you still have the 10 steps, and then
premium pay.
if they're on step 6, they get that wage plus $2? Is that how it's
If
going
they
to
have
work?
the C, if they have the C, correct. And then to your point, Tom, it's a good point. You could find yourself in that $70,000 range for that person, for
Yeah.
that skill set. So I think what you're doing is you're comparing your top paid employee to what that person would be. I mean, that seems fair based on what the midpoint is.
I think you'd be pushing, with overtime, I think they could pretty easily start pushing 75 to 80.
you're not including on-call time.
Well, if you start including all their pay, is what I'm saying.
Oh, you're including,
I'm including everything.
I was just trying to get a feel. Now, if
They-
they're in the 70 to 75 top range, then maybe Mike's recommendation of 75 to 90 or 95 makes sense.
I'm in agreement with you, Tom, because there's no doubt in my mind, if we ever have a bad year where they start putting in overtime, they're gonna push 80 really easy. Okay? And I don't have a problem with that. I'm just saying, for comparison.
I agree with that too. I think during the process, to look for that qualified individual is more importantly than, we got to see what we get in the door.
And you don't have to put someone at the bottom, you don't have to put them at the top.
I would hope you wouldn't put them even near the top so that they have room to move. Otherwise, I mean, we went through that, in other years where somebody comes in, they're real qualified, or that's what used to happen with the union people. In order to get somebody to take the job, they'd start at step 7, and 3 years later, the union's saying, hey, they're all on step 10, so we got to add steps. So I would hope you're in the mid to lower to start somebody.
I would assume that, and then they got to come in and they can tell you everything they can do, but after a year or so, you start to see what they can do.
That's the negotiation part.
Yep.
So,
Okay? But I'm thinking, Mike and Tom, you guys are probably hitting right in there, okay?
so what kind of a motion do we need for this? Just to direct staff to run the range?
I think your motion would be to as number 5 says, establish a salary range for the Public Works Director position, and that salary range would be your motion.
Yeah. Is everybody willing to accept 75 to 95? I'm still in discussion, that's not a motion.
Yes.
Okay, John? This says yes.
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Marcia?
I already gave my opinion.
All right. So make a motion, Aaron.
I make a motion, we set the salary range at 75 to 95,000.
I second it.
Ziebert Bowles,
Yes,
Nevin,
Yes.
Herzog,
Yes.
Andrews,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, next is approved publication of employment ad. Where are you going to put this, Mike, for ad? Have you figured that out? or
Go ahead,
Shar?
Shar.
We'll use the league, we'll use AWWA, MWOA, and Minnesota Rural Water, and the local papers.
So 6 different places.
And how long are we going to advertise?
2 weeks at least?
I'd go more than 2 weeks.
I'd go more than 2 weeks.
what are the publications on those, like the wastewater?
The job ads are on whatever length you want, but it continually.
Oh, on the website?
Yes,
Oh, I'm sorry.
yes.
I think, yeah, we're covered, we're in good shape, we don't have any crises going on, so
I'll
I'd
go
run
through
it-
the month of April.
I'd run it for a month, yeah.
So due by April 30th? We want applications due April 30th?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
That should get everybody time.
I mean, that'll take up for the variability in publication too.
Not a big deal, but April 30th is a Saturday.
Go till Monday then, May 2nd.
Yeah, it's a
May 2nd, can we go to that?
You could do the following Monday if you wanted to.
May
That-
2nd, May
That's
2nd.
that's May 2nd.
I would do that.
Okay, I think we got through it.
Do you want to make a motion to approve the publication in the paper?
May
It's going
2nd.
to cost
Go ahead,
money.
Aaron.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we advertise it for approximately 30 days, closing May 2nd, 2022.
Do you want me to run the ad in the paper that long too? Because that's,
I would.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
know it's going to cost us extra, but I think appropriately.
okay.
I'll second it.
Nevin?
Yes.
Herzog?
Yes.
Andrews?
Yes.
Ziebert Bowles?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, we need a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, may I again just say thank you. I
Thank you,
appreciate
Ted.
everybody.
Thank you, Ted. Yeah, you can do that
You're only going
now.
to spend, Ted, you're only going to spend 30 hours a week working with us now, right?
We're going to miss you, Ted.
Yes, we are.
Okay, so we got a motion. Do you want to do a vote on that, or can we just? Okay.
So you're going to have that rating form on the agenda?